have a dream, oh, I have a dream. Red, white, and blue, fly free, fly free. I believe, oh, I believe. Will you dream with me?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Changing Times. My name is Louie Michael, and don't adjust your computer or your TV. Lynn Morris and Don Blackard are out of the studio today on assignment. They are in Israel doing a story. No, I'm just kidding. They are both working somewhere out there, working very hard. As you know, Lynn Morris was our past Missouri state representative, and now he is a county commissioner in Christian County, Missouri. And there are a lot of duties that go along with that. So I've been very fortunate that he asked me to come and co-host and sub-co-host and sub-host and be the assistant principal every now and then here on the show. And I'm glad to be here. And Dawn Blackard, she is also out in the workforce doing her thing, and she couldn't be here today either. But I think they're going to be back next week, so stay tuned for that. And I don't think today's show is going to be a disappointment for you at all. I'm really excited. We've had her on before, but she was via Skype, and I think we were bringing her in from Hong Kong or somewhere. Sweden. And you may remember that interview. We got to have her on for a little while. We really enjoyed our visit, so we decided while she was in Branson, Missouri this week, we wanted to have her stop by and visit with us here in the studio. But please make welcome Donna Presley.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Hi, Donna.
In person, especially.
Well, Donna, of course, is Elvis's first cousin. You may remember from that other interview. If you don't know, she is Elvis's first cousin and lived at Graceland with her parents, Earl and Nash.
Yes.
And some of you may remember a lot of different things about stories about her aunt or her mother Nash and Elvis's aunt Nash. And we're going to touch on some of those here during the segment while we're on. And she brought one of her great friends with her.
I did. Karen Raymer. Yes.
Karen
absolutely.
Raymer. Karen is a super fan. And for those of you that listen to Elvis radio, you've probably heard her on there.
Yes, I was on there a couple of years ago. They interviewed me how I first saw Elvis.
Well, tell us about how you first saw Elvis.
Well,
let's
I was
start there.
7 years old, little small town of Commerce, Oklahoma.
Mickey Mantle's
hometown.
Yeah.
I have an older sister who's 8 years older, and she wanted to see Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show. We were one of the few families in that small little town that had a TV.
So was this Elvis's first appearance on Sullivan?
I believe so. Yeah, it was like September, 1956.
Yeah.
Or 54. Was it? Let's see, 56.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, she asked if her girlfriends could come over, and Barbara Mantle, or Mickey's younger sister, was her best friend. There were 4 or 5 girls, and I'm the little sister. And I said, well, I love Elvis too. So she asked our parents if she could have her friends over to watch him on TV, our little TV. And my dad said, yeah, but I've heard about this guy. And if you
He
girls,
was wild.
if you girls start screaming, I'm turning that TV off. Mom fixes us popcorn. We're all sitting on the floor watching this little TV. Elvis comes on. They're screaming, but it's not us. It's our mother.
Your father's reaction?
My dad threw up his arms and left the room shaking his head.
That's the way it is.
That's the thing, though. Elvis back then had everybody's attention and was obviously one of the greatest entertainers, or the greatest entertainer in the world. And it didn't matter if you were a little girl, a grown man, or
This is true.
I mean, even Ed Sullivan at that time, or a mom. And when you had the backing of Ed Sullivan, which had told the public, the national audience, that this was a fine boy. He's a good man.
Yeah.
Don't give him so much grief.
Right.
Then everybody, I think they felt like they could probably breathe a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. I love Elvis.
He's not going to be the ruination of our mankind.
If they could only see what was to come, right?
Exactly.
Well, and with my dad, when he went in the Army, is when my dad, because
he gained a lot of respect.
Yes,
served his country.
Because he could have gotten out of that very easily.
Yeah, and the government, they say, lost a lot of money those 2 years, didn't they?
Yeah.
His paycheck wasn't quite as big.
Yeah.
Well, Donna, when was the first memory you had? Obviously, you lived there with your family. Mm-hmm. And when do you remember moving to Graceland or being a part of that world right there?
Well, from the time Elvis has been famous since I was 4 years old, so
and
my
your
life.
parents knew him when he was 4 years old.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So, but, and Elvis and my mom were always extremely close. But from the time I was 10 years old, I spent all my summers at Graceland with our grandmother Dodger.
Yeah.
And then when I was about 14, 15 years old, Elvis took me and my mom and my dad into the dining room because they had come to pick me up, take me back home for school. And he said, Aunt Nash, Earl, we really, really love having Donnie, which is what he called me, live with us. And so we just want her to go ahead and move in with us. I'll send her to school. I'll buy her a car.
Sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, when she graduates high school, I'll help her with whatever she wants. And I'm sitting there going, yes, yes. And my mom goes, no. She's my little girl and she's going home with me. He said, but Aunt Nash. And she said, I know, honey, you take great care of her, but she's going home with me. But fortunately, when I was 17, he bought the Circle G Ranch in Walls, Mississippi, and he asked my dad to go to work for him on, overseeing, the Circle G and the property at Graceland. Yeah. And so we moved on to the Circle G when I was 17, and then when he sold the ranch in 69, we moved on to the grounds of Graceland and lived there till, I grew up and got out on my own, and my parents lived there till 1982 when they opened the house.
A lot of people don't realize that there was trailer homes and stuff behind Graceland, because when you think about living at Graceland, everybody's like, you moved into the house. That house wasn't very big in today's standards.
Everybody went, yeah,
or any standards really. Because especially if he had the whole upstairs and Lisa's room was up there and stuff too. But
exactly.
It wasn't that big of a place. So you guys actually had living quarters behind Graceland.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Did you guys use the back gate mostly when you came home?
Most of the time we did. Yeah, there was a gate at the very back of our house. And of course you have looky-loos coming through every now and then. I got turned around. I turned the wrong way. I didn't mean to end up here. But we usually use the back gate, but sometimes we'd use the front gate. Just depend upon the situation and where we were going, what we were doing.
Now, were you going to the public school when you lived there?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah,
so was there a lot of talk about did the school bus bring you home, or how'd you get home back and forth?
No, I didn't ride the school bus. My parents would either pick me up or I would drive,
Yeah. I'm sure people are thinking, can I get a ride with you today?
I had a lot of friends. Yeah. Oh, can I come to your house?
Yeah, no kidding. Just to linger around Graceland.
Exactly. But I was pretty popular there for a while. But no, I just, I respected, we always respected the family and Elvis's privacy. So there were very few people that I did take to,
people don't realize, and I've gotten to work with a lot of different artists and entertainers and just different people on different levels, but you don't sit around all day going, I need my picture with them. Of course, today with today's cameras, we actually carry around cameras that we can talk as a phone.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to do that. But back in the day when people are snapping pictures with a little Polaroid or the Kodaks or the 110s or whatever, you didn't always have a camera with you.
No, you didn't. I mean, you didn't think about it. I never carried a camera around. And, you have people today, well, how come you don't have more pictures with Elvis? Well, because number one, he was the most photographed human in the whole world. He didn't want to have that at home. And at home, you don't do that. It was at home, he was just Elvis to us. He was just Elvis, just like anybody else, and people don't grasp that, that concept that, well, he was just a regular person. He just happened to be, world famous superstar, greatest entertainer ever, but he was still Elvis to us.
Right. That was your family.
Yeah.
And you, of course, your mother was Vernon, who was Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, his sister.
His youngest sister. Yeah.
Nash. And her last name was Pritchett.
Yes. Well, she married my dad.
Well, she was Nash Presley first. Yes. Then she married Earl Pritchett.
Right.
What year did they get married?
Oh, geez. Now you're going to talk me into line. I honestly don't remember. I don't know.
Well, they obviously your mother.
Well, my mom was 15 and my dad was 19. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they ran off and got married at 15. Yeah, sure did.
And your mother, did she live in Tupelo?
Well, yeah, she was born in Tupelo, and lived there. And they live right next door to each other.
How did they end up there originally in Tupelo? Was that just where they were born?
That was just where, they were born, and that's where Elvis was born. It's where my mom was born. So they grew up there.
If you ever get a chance to go to Tupelo, which isn't too far down Highway 78 from Memphis, they've got a beautiful park there now with Elvis's birthplace with the original Shotgun Shack. Where he was born, and of course the little Pentecostal church that they found, didn't they, and move it back to the birthplace?
Yeah,
there?
I think so.
Because it's there. You can go through it too, and you can really see the simple, humble beginnings of where Elvis really got his love for music, probably in that little church.
Yeah, and like I said, my mom and Liam lived next door. And my mom was 9 years older than Elvis. So, they kind of grew
Pretty
up
close
together.
in age, yeah.
Very close. And then remained that way. And, I guess she always had this calling to be a minister because she, later in life became a minister, Assembly of God minister. And, she would have church and they would put sticks in the ground and she and Elvis would play church until Elvis got bored. And then he'd go to she'd say, throwing the congregation out into the, to the field. There went that. But
the sticks were the congregation.
Sticks were the congregation.
Gotcha.
But, yeah. And, but she said when he was about 4 years old that he told her, he said, Aunt Nash, one of these days I'm going to buy my mom and dad a big house and lots of cars. At 4 years old, he said that, And
I believe it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
He had that innate sense of wanting to do for his parents and for his family. And that's what he did, first of all.
Absolutely. And, people have to realize that, family was there because that's what Elvis wanted. He loved the fact that, we loved him before he became Elvis Presley. And that's a really hard situation to be in, I know one time when I was 18, I was in grandma's room and I was spending the night there because my parents had gone out of town. And he walked in, he sat down in the floor in front of my chair and he was just talking to me and, asking me questions about, who I was dating and what I wanted to be when I graduated and so forth and things like that. And he said, Donnie, I envy you. And
you're going, what?
Sure you do. Yeah, go on, Elvis. But, he said, I do, because he said, if somebody wants to be your friend, they're your friend because they like you. And if a guy asks you out, it's because he likes you. He said, I don't have that luxury. I never know if a friend is a friend because I'm Elvis or because I'm Elvis Presley, or if a woman's with me because I'm Elvis or because I'm Elvis Presley. And he said, that's kind of, it can be lonely at, as a situation.
Do you think that's why he probably kept all the Red Wests and the Marty Lackers or whoever the...
Yeah, because, he knew them and he felt like that they, were, he loved them. They loved him, in their own way, I guess, and some of them mostly. But
right. In high school, they knew him.
They knew, they grew up together, or he met them when he was in service and so forth, and he'd bring them back with him, and they were friends, and they remained that way for many, many years.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
Yeah,
and he was a giver, wasn't he?
He was a giver, and not just in generosity of money, but in generosity of spirit. And his feelings towards you, he was very loving and very kind and generous in every way.
Did he ever, when you were around him, did he ever have any like black clouds that just? Some people, they come around and they just everything they talk about is just a downer. And was he ever like that, or was he always upbeat about things or positive?
Well, I mean, well, like we all do, every now and then you get, blue or down or, and you might not say much. And Elvis was kind of, wouldn't say a whole lot, if he was down or whatever, because he didn't want to impose his feelings on you. But,
but he was concerned about everybody else's happiness.
He was always concerned more about everybody else's happiness than he was his own. And, I said he gave so much of himself, there wasn't anything left for himself.
Yeah. He just ran on empty, didn't he?
Yeah.
What, I know your mother, you said she was a minister.
Yes.
And I always love hearing the stories about her. And of course, everybody, if you've ever been to Graceland, back in the early days when they opened it up for tours, you used to be able to see this gold leaf piano that was in the music room at the end of the house. Yeah. And I remember seeing it. This probably in the early 90s when it was still there. I can't remember when they moved it because it was on loan. EPE or the estate didn't actually own the piano. Somebody loaned it back to the house to put in the music room. Right. And it was a gift at one time from Priscilla, I believe, to Elvis for their anniversary. And this is a 24 karat gold leaf piano.
Yes.
It was beautiful, grand piano at that.
Yeah.
And so there's a story behind that. And when you went to Graceland, they would tell you this story, little bits and pieces of it. And I remember back then just being in awe, like somebody could give away something like that. And lo and behold, it was your mother that was on the receiving end from Elvis of that piano. Tell us about how that new church and everything, how that started, how that, how did he find the church, or tell us that whole story.
Well, when he found out that my mom was a minister, that was so precious to him and so great to him because he always had a very strong faith and belief in God, and gospel music was his all-time favorite music. And if he sat down at the piano to sing, he sang gospel music sitting around the house, But she found this property, and he said he wanted to help her with it. So he bought this property. It's 4 acres in Walls, Mississippi on Nail Road. And
Was that wasn't very far from Grayson,
no,
right?
It's 15 minutes, maybe from Grayson.
People don't realize Mississippi is really
It's
close
right
to
there.
Memphis.
It's right
or by
there.
Grayson,
Yeah. Exactly. But so anyway, he said, yeah, I want to help you with. So he bought 4 acres of ground, helped her obtain a double wide trailer, mobile home, at metal. They call them metal buildings now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they did that. So then one night he called her over and he said, Aunt Nash. She said, yes. He said, do you have a car, for your ministry? She said, well, honey, you gave me a car last night. And he said, no, that's a family car, which happened to be a Continental Lincoln, Mark IV.
Right.
Just one of those. So that's a family car. So he said, no, you need one just for your ministry. So come go with me. So he takes her over and to the Pontiac place. He was giving away Pontiacs that night. And
just the feeling he must have been able to have just knowing that he could buy something like that for somebody, not just one, but 12 or whatever.
Exactly. He loved it. So he takes her down to the Pontiac place and he says, okay, Aunt Nash, pick one. And she says, oh, no, honey, if you want me to have one, you're going to have to pick it. So
turned it back on him a little bit.
Exactly. So they walk around the parking lot and he comes to this baby blue Pontiac Grand Prix with a white Landau leather top. Beautiful car.
Grand Prix were in the early 70s. They had some really cool. They were like a big boat.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah.
I had one.
Yeah,
I've had 4 of them, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Early 70s Grand Prix, 69, a 71, 72, and a 72.
Wow.
I had a 72.
I don't have any of them anymore,
but
they were pretty cars.
Yeah, they were pretty cars. And it had white leather interior. And so anyway, he takes her by the hand and he sits her into the driver's seat. And he kneels down on the parking lot there. And he says prayer. And he gets up and he said, this is the one. So anyway, they take it home. Well, he calls her over the next night. And he says, Aunt Nash.
She's thinking, I don't need another car. I've got 2 now this week.
So he said, do you have a piano for your church? She said, no, honey, I don't, not yet. Well, come with me. So he takes her into the music room and he says, here you go. Here is this grand piano, gold leaf, there's your church piano. So my dad, who was one of the, was raised, thinking, why do, give somebody else a job that you can do yourself?
Right.
Because he was a jack of all trades.
Because your dad's thinking this piano's got to be moved down there somehow,
exactly.
right?
It's got to be
Who's going to move that?
Exactly. And he thinks, I will. So anyway, he wraps this piano in, moving blankets, puts it on the front end of a tractor in the bucket. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now get this visual. He takes it down the hill at Graceland.
Down around the driveway.
Takes a left onto Elvis Presley Boulevard or Highway 51.
Wouldn't you love to have a picture of Uncle Vester down at the gate directing that traffic of your dad driving the tractor with this gold leaf piano? Of course, it's wrapped up.
Yes.
But coming through the gates. People were thinking, what are they doing?
What a picture is this, So then he drives it down and he goes up onto the hill, where my mom's church is. And he's sitting there looking at it. And he looks at my mom. He said, this isn't going to work. And she said, why? And he said, well, I can't get it in there. And she said, but can't you just take down a wall and put it in? And then
sounds easy enough.
Yeah, and put the wall back up. Sure, that sounds awesome, And he said, yeah, I could probably do that, but then you wouldn't have any place to sit because the piano was so large, it would take up most of the room.
Yeah, and this mobile building probably wasn't huge.
No, not at all. And so anyway, he takes it back down the hill there, goes up, Nail Road, Highway 51, and then on to Elvis Presley Boulevard, back up to Graceland. And
so when he comes back to the house, he's got this piano.
Yeah.
What are they thinking at that point? Are they thinking, okay,
What
we've got to
happened?
go to plan B. I got to talk to Elvis because this thing is not going to work. We need to put it back in the dining room or the music room.
Yes. Well, let me tell you the rest of the story, as they say. But my mom calls, she goes over to Graceland the next night and she said, Elvis? And he said, yes, Aunt Nash. And she said, that gold piano you gave me? Yes, Aunt Nash. Well, it's too big to go in my church. Do you mind if I swap it for something that will? He said, Aunt Nash, I gave you the piano. You do whatever you want to with it. You can burn it if you want to. So she goes to a music store there in Memphis, Tennessee. Now get this, swaps this grand gold leaf piano that belonged to Elvis straight across the board for a spinet piano.
What was the value ratio there? I mean, come to find out.
Yeah, well, I heard, I'm not positive this is true, but I did hear that it sold to a private collector for $2 million.
Wow.
There went my inheritance. So
Do you think
I
that?
did get the spinet piano, but my brother has it now.
Oh gosh. Do you think the piano, the salesman there, did he take advantage of her?
You think?
Who are these people? Holy moly!
But yeah,
She had no idea. She just wanted a piano
she
for her
just wanted a
church.
piano for a church, and money meant nothing to my mom, like Elvis. The only thing that money meant to Elvis was what he could do for other people, and so money meant nothing to my mom.
And at that time too, it wasn't like we are now. Everything
Yeah.
that Elvis possessed or owned, we want a piece of.
Yes, exactly.
Back then, it was just like he's going to be around. He's
yeah.
here. There's more stuff,
It's exactly so.
and he wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So be it. But that's an awesome story. I love that story, and we're going to talk about some more of those stories here in just a moment. But right now, we're going to take a quick break and tell you about our sponsors who sponsors the Changing Times show. And I know Lynn is always a big fan of all these people, including myself. I'm really thankful for that. But John Youngblood Motors, which is out on 3525 South Campbell, they've got a new car lot there. They've got all kinds of vehicles, but they've got a used car lot across the street too that everything's certified. It's I think they're one of the oldest car lots in Springfield, family-owned business. I think they've been there about almost 45 years, I believe. If you want to reach them, their phone number is 417-882-3838. And you can also find them online. I don't have that email or that web address handy, but they may have it on the bottom of the screen. I'm not sure. But call them. They'll be happy to give you that website. And you can even order your car online. And apparently, if you don't like your car when they deliver it, you've got 3 or 4 days. You can send it back and get another one.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great plan.
We had John Whittaker, who's with John Youngblood Motor Group, in here a while back. And the guy's a fine gentleman. They're all great people. Matter of fact, Lynn always talks about that's where he's bought his last 2 vehicles. They were actually owned by the owner of the company, John Youngblood, at one time. So Lynn's kind of got an in with these guys. And so I'm not sure any of us could walk in there and get the owner's vehicle or not. But they always take good care of Lynn, and he adores them and loves their business. So I think you will too. They're at 3525 South Campbell. John Youngblood Motors. Their phone number is 417-882-3838. And they'll be happy to take your call. The next one is a guy named Brad Pistole. And Lynn, after he sold his family pharmacies, I think he ended up with a couple dollars, and he was trying to figure out where in the world he was going to put his money. And he was on vacation in Florida, of all places. Picked up a USA Today and was reading about this guy that had a couple of books out called Safe Money Matters and Bulletproof. And he's reading about this guy and his company and how they're a fiduciary and they do great work and this, that, and the other. And come to find out, Brad Pistole was in Ozark, Missouri,
Wow.
where Lynn Morris is from. So he had to go all the way to Florida to get a USA Today to read the article to find out about Brad, who's in his backyard.
That's usually the way of it, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, that's just a God thing, I think. He was praying for somebody, and there he was. But Brad has got Trinity Insurance and Financial. They're in Ozark, Missouri. His phone number is 417-581-9222. And he does have those 2 books, Safe Money Matters and Bulletproof. And you can get one of those books or both of those books for free if you just call them at the office there. They'll be happy to get you one mailed out no matter where you are in the country. If you're looking for financial help with your retirement or anything, if Brad can help you here locally in Ozark, Missouri, he's got contacts all over the country, and he'll be happy to set you up with somebody that he trusts and somebody that he knows. He'd be happy to help you. But Brad's phone number is 417-581-9222. And they'll be waiting on your call. That's who Lynn Morris is using these days, and I think he's going to stay with him. And I think he's even told me recently that since he put all of his money with Brad Pistole, he has not lost a nickel, not even a penny, because they look out for you and they want to help you out and be smart with your money for you. So anyway, give Brad a call when you get a chance. Our other 2 sponsors are me personally, actually Louie Michael. I'm with the Firm Real Estate in Ozark, Missouri, and that is a boutique real estate firm that has been around. I think they started the business maybe 8 years ago, But the Parnham family has been down there for the last 50 years selling real estate. And it's the same family. It's actually the Parnham's daughter, Sonia Wells, who is the broker of that office, who I worked for. And we've developed a great partnership down there. And we work really hard for all of our clients. We've got years and years of experience there in the office. I've been blessed to be able to sell several $1 million a year in real estate the last few years, even just kind of doing it part-time.
Awesome.
Still get to venture off and do my entertainment ventures and have my hands in some other stuff. But when you call me, your needs are always paramount. I always try to help you out the best I can, whether you're selling something or buying something. Even if you're in another state and you need help with finding a realtor, I can help you with that. I had one of my last people I helped was Justin Timberlake's manager, Dre. He called me and said, hey, I need to find a home in Atlanta. So we found him a place in Atlanta, and we've been helping him out. But we got a lot of reach. We can help you no matter where you're at. So be sure to give me a call if you get a chance. My phone number is 417-988-1086. And you want to keep that number because I started selling the real estate, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I got my license 10 years ago, and I didn't do anything with it. And 5 years after that, I decided it was time. I was out on a Duran Duran tour or something. Yeah. I came back home and thought, okay, I just want to stay home. I want to sell real estate. And but I needed, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 really to get it started, to be able to take some time off, buy my board membership and all that stuff. And hadn't really planned for that. So I'm home off a tour for not even one day. I'm going to tell you how I got my license, how I started real estate, selling real estate. And it's got a close connection to Springfield today. Of course, that's where we're at. But there's Cardinals involved, St. Louis Cardinals, minor league baseball, major league baseball. Anyway, I'll tell you the story. But anyway, I come home. I'm home not even a day. And I drive downtown to see one of my buddies, Jim Berry, who I hadn't seen in a while, just wanted to touch base. And so I'm in my Tahoe at the time that I had. And I'm flying down the road, down Chestnut Expressway, and it's rainy that day. And I knew the Cardinals were playing baseball downtown. We've got a minor league team, AA team. Cool. And so a lot of times they get rehab assignments from the major league team to come down and play. You know, the pitchers, catchers, whatever, they're rehabbing. They send them down. So here I am flying down Chestnut Expressway, and off this road that just comes right into Chestnut. It's called Traffic Way. There's this minivan just flying, and I get broadsided.
Oh, no.
And so I'm thinking, okay, great. This is not a good day for this. So we get out, we pull over off the side of the road, and it's a gentleman and his wife and 3 daughters, and they're all piling out. And I'm like, are you guys okay? Everybody good? He's like, yeah, man, but I feel horrible about this. And man, I didn't even notice the yield sign. And I looked at my truck and I'm like, hey, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it. We don't need to call anybody, the police or whatever. I just want to make sure you guys are okay. He's like, yeah, we're fine. Are you okay? I said, I'm good. He said, tell you what, let's just swap information. I'll give you my phone number and you can take a picture of my driver's license and just send me the bill. Oh, wow. If you get an estimate or something. And I was like, well, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it. He said, no, really, do that for me. So he pulls out his wallet and he gets his driver's license out, and I get my phone. And I start looking at this driver's license and taking a picture of it. And I'm going, that's Adam Wainwright. He's a pitcher for the Cardinals. And I said, are you okay?
Can I have an autograph?
Is your arm okay? And he kind of chuckles and he's like, yeah, I'm fine. I said, I had no idea. I said, I picture you now. He's a tall guy. I said, okay, I see you now. I said, you're doing a rehab assignment here in Springfield, aren't you? He's like, yeah, we just finished up. I said, is the game over? No, we left a little early and just trying to get my wife and kids home. And I said, well, are you sure you're okay? Because I don't want to be that guy that hurts Wainwright, Wayno, Uncle Wayno. So anyway, long story short, we sat there and visited for a few minutes, got a picture taken, and he was very, very kind. He said, seriously, send me an estimate of what the damage is on it, and I'll take care of you. So I went and got an estimate the next week or something, and it was, I think, $1,200, $1,400 or something. It wasn't that bad. So I sent it to him. I've got his phone number and everything, and so he has me send it to him. About a week later, in the mail, I get a letter and a check, and he sends me $5,000.
Wow.
And says, sorry about the, mishap. And I hope this, helps everything out, whatever. So God has a way of working. Sometimes you're praying for something.
That's right.
And God's already got it figured out. When I'm thinking in my head, okay, I've got to do this other tour. I'll have some extra money, pay off these bills. I didn't even have to do any of that. I got this check for $5,000. First thing I did, I didn't fix my Tahoe. I took it and I invested it in my real estate career.
Yeah.
And that was a little over 5 years ago.
There you go.
And so anyway, I was able to pay all that stuff. And each year I've done very well in my real estate. My whole goal for my real estate, and the reason I was praying for it so much too, I wanted to be able to start my choosing to live.
Yes.
And to be able to have the money to afford to be able to go help people, or, pay for people's prescriptions, or, doctor visits or whatever. But I knew that the way I could do that would probably be through selling real estate. Excuse me. Because I could still go out and do the entertainment stuff. It would allow me more freedom, and I'd be able to make good money. Or I was praying that I would be able to make good money. So I have done that. And matter of fact, I sent Adam Wainwright a message yesterday because he's in town today. He's going to be pitching in 2.5 hours in Springfield. So if you're watching from Springfield, Missouri, you can go watch Adam Wainwright in his rehab assignment here in Springfield. And about that time, I am going to stay off of Chestnut Expressway. But I sent him a message yesterday. We had a good laugh about it, and he was just thankful. I told him what all it's accomplished and what we've done. We've stayed in contact a few different times, but he was really pleased about that the money went somewhere well, and that we met up that way, that it was just a God thing. Yeah. It was an answered prayer. Yeah. But he is in Springfield today, so go watch him if you can. So Choosing to Live, of course, is the nonprofit we talk about on here quite a bit, and that's my love. That's my passion. Yeah. And all the entertainment stuff. I get to go to Nashville today, and we'll get to rub some elbows with some cool people. And like I get to with Donna and Karen, and I get to meet all these cool people. But my love and my passion these days is choosing to live and trying to convince anybody to just hang on, to keep pushing. Absolutely. Patty and I were talking about last night some of the trials we've had in our life. And there was times I've still got a food stamp that I keep in my desk that I got in 1991, shortly after we had first met, and things were really tough. Yeah. And I remember asking the lady at the food stamp line, I said, she was wanting all this information. I said, look, I just want help this month. I'm not going to come back. This month I need help. I'm desperate. And I did. I only needed them that month, and things progressed after that, and I did okay. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know where I got off on that subject, but sometimes things can be so desperate and destitute that you think there's no way. But we were talking about how God will crush you sometimes, and the people that are the most crushed are the ones that he wants to bless the most. That's true. And he puts you through the fire to see how you'll react in your faith. And, and we just feel so overwhelmingly blessed by the people that we know and the things that we get to do, and get to go home to a nice home that we've earned and we've worked hard for. And it's a blessing, and we're so thankful for that. But I want to encourage everybody that no matter what you're going through right now, there is a point that it does end. Yeah. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is. Yeah. And people don't always take that in consideration because that pain can be so heavy and so hurtful. Absolutely. The mental pain sometimes can be as bad or worse than the physical pain. Absolutely. That's true. And it seems to last longer. It does. And when you're dealing with that and you turn to any sort of drugs or alcohol or anything like that, that just makes the problem even worse. And unfortunately, a lot of times takes away those inhibitions and will allow you to hurt yourself. Exactly. But if you ever have, the anxiety, the PTSD, the depression, or suicidal thoughts or tendencies, please reach out to somebody, anyone. There's a new number now that you can call, 988. That's a suicide hotline that you can call, and it's fabulous. It's for cell phones. It's for any phone, whatever. 988, call them. They can help you. I've also got a website. It's neversuicide.org. I'm thrilled that Donna Presley is on my board, and she believes in the mission. And I'm so honored to be on it because it's a great foundation. Well, and we've all been touched by suicide. Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes, of course. And it's horrible. And I often talk about the collateral damage that's left behind. And sometimes you don't realize what you think that in your mind that if I check out, everybody's going to be a lot better off. That is never the case. Never the case. No matter what you've done, God understands. He will forgive you. And people will forgive you. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But that's up to we're human. Yes. But life does go on. And there's so many things that you can accomplish with your life if you just keep pushing through to that next day and get to that next moment in your life where you feel good. Because I've been there. I don't know if you've been there. Yeah, of course. But it's tragic. And I understand it. I get it. I don't preach on all this because I've read it in a book. I'm not a licensed counselor or therapist or anything like that. But I've been there. I've tried to take my life. And there's been times through the years up until recently that I just questioned whether or not I really was supposed to be here. And sometimes maybe that's normal. We question those things, but we have to keep pushing. We have to keep getting to the next day. Never
This is
wave the
true.
white flag.
Absolutely. Never give up. God's the answer for sure. And he's always there to carry you through to, the next time.
Amen.
So, yeah.
And so anyway, choosing to live, neversuicide.org. And if you need any help at all, I always have my phone open and I field a lot of calls all the time. 417-988-1086. If you need help, hopefully I can direct you to the right place that can assist you in that. If not, we can get you the tools that you need. So anyway, with that, we're going to close and we've got another 5 minutes, I think, here. But let's talk about what you've got coming up right now. You're touring around the world on a lot of different levels, right?
I'm extremely blessed, extremely. I spent 3 months in Sweden at the end of last year from September to
That's where we
December.
spoke to you last time.
That's where I was. And then I went to Vienna. And in May, I leave to go to Germany. We have a show there with Dennis Jail. And then I go to Italy. And, wow, what a life, right? And then we actually go on a 9-day cruise, Mediterranean cruise out of Italy. And it's called the TCB tour, or cruise, excuse me. And we'll be there with Linda Thompson, Sam Thompson, Ginger Holiday, who sang backup for Elvis, Donna Rhodes and her husband Craig. And, they sang, or Donna sang backup for Elvis, and Glendy Harden, who was Elvis's piano player. And, Paul Lime, fantastic, one of the greatest drummers of all time, and he's worked with Ronnie Tutt. So, it's going to be an amazing, amazing tour. A lot of
people
fun.
don't realize that all these people that Elvis was associated with, even the actresses and co-stars in the movies, and they're all getting older and they're all passing, and there's not too many that are affiliated.
This is true.
And that you're actually one of the last living family members. You're probably the closest DNA wise to Elvis as it comes, right?
Well, yeah, pretty close. Now that unfortunately that Lisa's no longer with us, I'm one of the very few who's out there actually, talking about Elvis and telling, everyone about Elvis and the family and what he was really like, because that's the first question. What was Elvis really like, at home and so forth. And
people want to know those things.
And they do. And the fact is, I was raised by the same people who raised Elvis. Yeah. So we all grew up with that, that same strong faith and belief in God and family values. And it's great to be able to go out there and meet fans from all over the world. And they're just the sweetest, most wonderful people, most loving and supportive people. And their love extended not only from to Elvis, but extends to the rest of the family. So it's quite a blessing for me to be able to do that.
It's amazing that he never traveled outside the U.S. other than in the service, and maybe into Canada, I think a time or two with the performance. But people around the world adore him and love him still. Even here, there, young kids, old kids.
2 to 92, that's pretty much the age limit that people come to the, to the shows and things like that. And you've got little kids that are still dressing up in jumpsuits and stuff and loving it,
He would have never thought.
No. And I remember Dean Z and I were talking not too long ago, and he said, I remember meeting you when I was 7 years old. And up there doing, and now look at him, is one of the greatest, ultimates that there was. So,
that's amazing. Yeah. Elvis has such a reach and how he's brought people together.
Yeah.
And Patty and I, my wife and I met 33 years ago because I was in an Elvis convention in Chicago. Who would have ever thought? And here I am sitting and talking to you and getting to know people that, it's been so exciting.
He made it a smaller, better world for all of us.
He certainly did.
Sure did.
We talk about sometimes too his philanthropy and things that he gave away. Of course, the cars, everybody notes the cars and stuff. And we've all heard so many different stories. Karen, is there a story that stands out to you of his giving?
Well, one of the stories I enjoy is Donna told me this, and I'm going to, hopefully she doesn't mind. Her father grew up very poor, like most of the Presleys did, although he wasn't a Presley, but he married one. Yeah. And Earl did the groundskeeping there at Graceland, and there was a part broken on one of the mowers, and it was like a $3 part. And he needed to order a part, and he and Elvis, I may be getting the story wrong.
No, you're doing great.
Anyway, they were standing outside, and a plane went over. And Earl says, boy, I'd like to ride on an airplane sometime. And Elvis says, you've never been on an airplane? He goes, no, son, I haven't. Well, the part was coming from Colorado, $3
Wisconsin.
part. Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Anyway, Elvis bought Earl a plane ticket
to go get
to
it.
go
To
to
go get it.
Wisconsin to get this $3 part. I mean,
You know,
that was his generosity.
Yeah, he loved making people's dreams come true, no matter what it was. You know.
Can you imagine what the world would be like if there was more of that?
Oh, really? Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Oh.
can I interject something kind
Sure.
of funny? Donna has spent the weekend at my house before. So after she left, my husband says, okay, Donna has the same DNA as Elvis, right? I said, yeah. I said, if we ever sell our house, can we put that on the list?
Put that on the rider, yeah. Just so you know,
Yeah.
Donna slept here.
You want me to sign a room, a wall?
Have her do some artwork on a wall or something.
No, that's sweet. That's so sweet. Really.
She knows my husband.
Yeah, he's a card. I love him. He's amazing.
You met him, but you probably don't remember last year when we saw the
Oh,
Elvis
sure, I
movie.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
think so. I've had a head injury. Patty says I can't use that forever,
Well,
but it's
There were only hundreds of people there. I
there
mean,
was. Yeah, we had a great benefit last year with the Elvis movie. We had a nice showing, and
Yeah,
they
it's
came
fun.
to it, and we raised some great money for choosing to live. And it was just one of those unique events. I don't know if I can match it. It was so different and unique.
Oh, we'll come up with something.
We will. We're going to have to. I think I'm going to go to Nashville. We're going to actually talk about a concert and stuff too for raising some money, which
Yeah.
I'm excited about. But one of my favorite stories, and it was brought up again here recently. I'd heard it that Elvis had got wind on the news or something of a lady, an elderly lady that lived in a bad part of Memphis, and she couldn't walk and was in a rickety wheelchair or something.
Well, actually, her wheelchair had been stolen.
Oh, it's stolen.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Elvis heard about this, and so what did Elvis do? He goes and buys the best wheelchair
The
possible.
Cadillac of
the Cadillac of
wheelchairs.
wheelchairs, and takes it, to her house and knocks on the door and walks in with it and picks her up and sets her in it, and so I was just Elvis, and he didn't want anybody to know about those things,
Yeah. And it's amazing how many stories come out these days that the guys have shared or people
Yeah.
have talked about that they were on the receiving end, whether
Yeah.
it be a dentist, a doctor, a
Whatever.
employee at a store that opened up
Yeah.
the Sears for him at
Yeah.
night or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the feeling that must have been for him to just, that had to be mad beyond alcohol, drugs, or anything anybody could do. That feeling when
That's
you do for somebody
euphoric.
else is euphoric.
It is. And, and the thing of it is when he gave it to you, you would thank him, of course, but then he didn't want to hear about it after that.
Yeah.
He didn't want you to keep thanking him for it. I gave it to you. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But, because then he felt uncomfortable for people being, so just overly thankful for everything.
Right.
That you thanked me. That's okay.
Yeah,
Just
that's
once
enough.
will do.
Well, I'd heard one time he'd even given this beautiful Cadillac to one of the guys that worked for him.
Uh-huh.
And they came back to him a few weeks later and said, hey, the insurance on this is just too high. Do you mind if we trade it in on something a little smaller for the family and stuff? And he was like, I gave it to you. It's whatever you want to do with it. I don't care.
That was Elvis, like the piano. Burn it if you want to. It's
He didn't
yours.
keep score, did
No,
he?
he didn't. He did not. He did
didn't.
not. He was
Well.
blessed, and he wanted to bless others.
Yeah.
Can I share something
Sure.
that I heard years ago? That we know Elvis was very patriotic, and that was
Yeah.
one of the things that endeared most people, older people, to
Yeah.
him.
Right.
When he wore the white suit in the '68 special,
Mm-hmm.
the red ascot that he wore,
Uh-huh.
Nudie Cohen made the suit, and Nudie thought it needed some color. So he brought over several different ascots in different colors. And Elvis had read an article that morning about how many young men had lost their lives in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
He chose the red because it was the color of blood that they had shed.
Oh my gosh. I never heard that story.
I heard it just like a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
It makes sense.
It
That's
does.
who he was.
that's who
Exactly.
he was. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, folks, if you want to get a hold of Donna, she's got an official Facebook page
Yes.
on Facebook. So it's the Donna Presley official page.
Yes.
Don't mistake it with any others,
Right.
but Donna Presley official. You can also go to mine, Louie Michael, if you need help finding it. I'll be happy to help you find that. And we want you to go on there and follow her because she's got some great things coming up. She's probably going to even do a book possibly one of these days, her memoirs. And we can't wait to hear more about that. She's a great singer too. So if you get to see her
sweet.
out on the road, visiting with these guys and visiting with the fans and touring, you don't want to miss it. So be sure to come out and see her. Thank you, Karen, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
Oh,
I
it's
so
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it. And
Oh,
I
I
hope
love
you
it.
have a safe day going back to Branson.
Thank you so much.
Choose to live.
That's
God bless.
what it means to really dream.